Hello everyone, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today I'll be doing another demonstration for my college public speaking class. One of their speech assignments is to do what I call a passion speech. I call it a passion speech, but it's really a speech where they talk about something that has happened to them and that has taught them a lesson. So I'm going to be doing my passion speech for them. So please join us as we view this speech. On the 31st of December, 1997, my husband and I welcomed into the world a bouncing baby boy who was 8.5 pounds and full of life and full of energy. We had prepared for him so much. Our friend Delia Chin had done a treatment on the walls. So the walls had this nice soft baby blue, kind of like this, and you saw white clouds, and along the way you saw the words, "Twinkle, twinkle, little stars, how I wonder what you are, baby's paradise." Oh, we were joyous. And when he came that day, life was good. We were in a good place. We had just bought our home. We were happy. So after giving birth, sometime after 7 a.m., my husband went home to change and, freshen up and call all our friends. And one of the first persons he seemed to have called was Elaine Cunningham. And she turned up at about 10 a.m. that morning. And when I saw her, I had the biggest smile on my face. I said, "Elaine!" And then her first words to me took the smile from my face, because she said, "Tan, I'm really sorry about the baby." I said, "What do you mean you're sorry?" She said, "I said the baby isn't doing well." I said, "What do you mean the baby isn't doing well?" And then I learned that the hospital just had forgotten to tell us that our son had been in distress when he was delivered. And they needed to transfer him from the maternity ward to another hospital, a children's hospital, where the IC units were. But this was the 31st of December, New Year's Eve, and everybody wanted to party that night. So there was no attention being given to him, and there were no available ambulances. So Elaine and I called my husband so that he could come down and run interference, because I couldn't do anything. I was in the hospital, I'd just given birth, apart from being totally devastated and absolutely distressed. I couldn't really do much. I couldn't move. I'd just given birth, like I said, just moments before. So I was not in a position to even ask for anything, to do anything. So we called him so that he could come back and he could do what needed to be done on the ground, so that we could finally get our baby in an ambulance headed straight to the children's hospital. That still remains one of the most frightening and stressful situations I ever had to endure. And I know many other mothers have been there also. You are expecting this child, you plan for the baby, and when he comes or she comes, something is wrong. And that totally changes your world and totally changes your life. Or it could be a job. Sometimes we plan for these jobs. We are very prepared. We do 3 interviews. We're sure that the job is ours, and then we don't get the job. And we feel like our world has crashed around us. Or it might be something as surprising and unexpected, like a death. You saw the person just yesterday, and the next day, however it happened, the person dies. Could be something like what happened to my son's best friend's father. One day he was there, went skiing, and never came back home. sometimes we have to deal with losses like that. And those things shake us to the core. Those things sometimes are so devastating that sometimes just the thought of living is a burdensome thought. I remember how hard it was those days just to get out of bed some mornings. Because every morning I'd get out of my bed and I'd go into the room that we had prepared for our son. And I'd look at the walls and I would just start weeping because I didn't know if he would ever come home. I didn't know, and there was no doctor there on the ward any day to reassure us. But I learned a lot in that time. I learned 3 important things. I learned about faith. I learned about friendship. And I learned about fortitude. The 3 F's. Those were the things that kept me in those times. And I want to share with you the lessons I learned from those 3 F's. Let me begin first by talking about faith, the first F. I learned in those days that I waited to see if he would live or if he would die, I learned the need for faith. And I want to suggest also that everybody find a faith. You don't have to be preaching to anyone. You don't have to even let anyone know, because faith is personal. But I learned that had I not had faith, I could not have endured those 10 long days. Not only did I learn faith, but I learned about friends. I learned that I needed friends because they are the ones who I could count on, and they are the ones who were able to give me the strength and the courage that I needed. Because the first friend who came 3 hours after I had the baby was Dr. Elaine Cunningham. And had Elaine not been a friend who cared enough to visit me so soon after giving birth, I am not sure what would have happened. It was her friendship that took her there to visit me that day. And I will always be grateful for her friendship. Another friend who we called on was Leon Vaughn, Dr. Leon Vaughn. And had we not had him as a friend, once again, I don't know what would have happened. Because in the 10 days that my son was in the children's hospital, we never once saw the doctor. And when we called Leon that day, in the early morning after midnight, and we said, we need to know what's happening. We need someone to read this chart for us. He left his home after midnight. And he only said, I'll soon be there. In half hour he was there, and it was his reassurance that took us through those 10 days when we didn't see a doctor. So you need friends, guys. You need friends. Apart from faith and friends, you also need fortitude. That's a big word, but it really just means that resilience, that bravery, that courage that you need, in the midst of adversity, that courage that will take you through, that courage that will remind you that no matter how dark the days get, it gets dark before it gets light. It's the fortitude that is going to keep you, so that when you start to get those negative messages, and when you start to turn in on yourself, and when you start to feel hopeless, it is that fortitude that will help you to say, be strong, you will live and you will not die. So, in summary, let me remind you guys that no matter what you're going through, don't give up. You need faith, you need friends, and you need fortitude. That is what is going to take you through. Because I'm proud and pleased to tell you today that that boy who spent his first 10 days in the hospital with us not knowing if he would live or if he would die, that fellow is going to be 23 next month. And every day I am grateful. So remember, no matter what you are going through, you will live and you will not die. Tell yourself that. You will live. Hold on, and don't give